What's up, my people? It's your guy Dynamics. I'm here with another one of Boss Reactions. All right, so today I got some good ones.
Because a couple days ago I made this post right here asking what topic would you like to see for the next video, and you all were pretty much split between Mandela effects and paranormal.
All right, people, so let me know how that went. That was nice, right? Everything sound good? Okay, let's go again.
We are going to be looking at some creepy videos, strange and odd news stories, and as always, let's go ahead and get right into today's video. This video's topic of Mandela effects was actually chosen by you all because a couple days ago I made this post right here asking what topic would you like to see for the next video, and you all were pretty much split between Mandela effects and paranormal encryptids, and I said I have not made a video yet on Mandela effects, so that won the tiebreaker. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is not talk about the more popular ones like the Berenstain Bears or how Nelson Mandela passed away in a prison cell. I'm going to go ahead and focus on more obscure ones. But before we go ahead and begin, just a quick breakdown on the Mandela effect. The Mandela effect is a phenomenon where a large group of people collectively misremember these same factual details, events, or other circumstances, typically related to history or pop culture. It's characterized by a shared false memory that feels remarkably strong and pervasive among those affected. There are those that say all these people are just simply misremembering. There are others that blame CERN, saying CERN puts us in other dimensions, and the more recent that AI is changing our history. But with that out of the way, the very first Mandela effect I do want to go ahead and talk about is the American Eagle. Now, if you are like me...
Wait, there's a... Let me get this right. So there's a Mandela effect for the American Eagle? I never heard about that one. All right, let's see.
And thought that the American bald eagle was the United States national bird for centuries, ever since the 1700s, well, we both were wrong. Because the American bald eagle was never the national bird. Matter of fact, the American bald eagle just became the national bird in 2024.
Wait, hold on. So you're telling me that the American bald eagle is not the national bird for the United States of America? I could have swore it was like on the quarters, right? I mean, like, this is crazy.
After being signed into law by Joe Biden. Yes, you heard that correctly. The United States never had a national bird, and it definitely wasn't the American bald eagle until as recent as 2024. Now, there will be some people that will say that the American bald eagle was just a symbol and not a national bird, but there may be some Mandela effect residue here that may say otherwise. For example, this very important website right here that goes on to say, the bald eagle has been the national bird of the United States since 1782.
Right, so that's exactly what I thought. I thought the American bald eagle was the national bird since 1782. So that's kind of shocking to me, actually, to find out that it was just signed in like by Joe Biden in 2024. Yeah, that's shocking.
When it was placed with outspread wings on the Great Seal of our country, it appears in many government institutions and on official documents, making it the most pictured bird in all of America. This website is none other than a government website, the Veteran Affairs, the VA. So wouldn't they know whether or not the American eagle was a national bird and when? But apparently the VA, the government, has misremembered like most of us in believing that the American eagle was always the United States national bird since 1782. But apparently that wasn't the case. So the question happens to be, did we shift timelines, or is it the fact that we all just did not know any better?
That's weird. I mean, just to find out that, you know, the American bald eagle wasn't the national bird for the United States, it just feels like a Mandela effect.
Including the Veterans Affairs. This next Mandela effect on the list really weirded me out, and it has to do with the 1930 oil painting American Gothic by American artist Grant Wood. For most of us that remember this painting, we know of this older gentleman here holding this pitchfork, and standing right next to him is his older wife with gray hair in a bun, also facing forward. You can probably imagine that right now, but apparently that is never how the painting looked. Standing next to this older gentleman is a much younger woman who happens to be his daughter. No longer is it his wife. What is even more interesting is that out of nowhere, this painting has an explanation by the painter himself. The explanation goes on to state that the painting was reproduced in various United States newspapers, often with the caption, "An Iowa farmer and his wife, Nan, the painter's sister, began telling people that her brother had envisioned the pair as father and daughter, not husband and wife." Wood, the painter himself, he was vague about the issue until 1941, when he stated in a letter that the prim lady with him is his grown-up daughter. You can find this original sketch on the painting's website, AmericanGothicHouse.org. In the original pencil sketch, you can clearly see that the woman's face is looking forward, and it looks like he was drawing her to have a bun in her hair. So the question happens to be, why would he change just the woman on the original pencil sketch, and why does the original sketch look more like the final outcome of what we are familiar with the painting looking like? This next Mandela...
Yeah, that is pretty weird. I mean, people remember stuff from like decades ago, and all of a sudden it's just changed overnight. I mean, it does feel like a timeline shift of some sort, right?
Effect will always creep me out, and it has to do with CERN's logo. If you have been subscribed to my primary channel for quite some time, Minutes of Horror, you will know that I have made plenty of videos on
Go over and sign to his channel, Minutes of Horror.
CERN. CERN is basically my arch nemesis on that channel. So one day I happened to have been taken back when I was making a video on them about the April 8th solar eclipse, and I noticed that their logo just happens to look very off. CERN's logo has always appeared to look like a 666, yet now for whatever reason, with the addition of these two extra lines, this line right here and this line right there, it kind of masks the fact that it looks like a 666 and looks like something else altogether. What is even more interesting is that CERN's Taylor Swift, Particle Clara, actually makes a reference to people seeing the numbers. Now, she doesn't outright state or talk about the 666, but just take a look at this video clip.
You start to see how the design of the CERN logo came about. So there you have it. The CERN logo is a simplified drawing of that diagram I just showed you. And for people who think they see numbers in this diagram, there are 2 circles and 5 lines that come from the logo. So I'm not entirely sure how you get 3 numbers out of that.
Yeah, I know. Like, people just see what they want to see. They're like, oh, look, it's 3 sixes. That's 666. No, it's just 5 lines coming out of 2 circles. Like, okay, see what you want, I guess, right?
Anyway, if you have more questions about particle physics, let me know.
Oh, she knows she's trolling. The reason why she can't see those 3 numbers happens to be because of the additions of those 2 extra lines. When people say they see those 3 numbers, they're talking about the 666, when they saw the logo just having 3 lines as opposed to 5. That is the thing I hate about CERN. They'll say the thing we're all talking about and they'll act coy about it, or they'll say something completely off the wall and act like we're not supposed to make a big deal about it, like when they said they discovered magic. There are even websites out there that mention the CERN logo change, like this website right here, where they go on to say how the original logo looked more like a 666, but the new logo looks more like a 66666, 5 sixes as opposed to 3. When you think of attacks that happen in the United States, more specifically attacks that have happened in New York, you would instantly think of what happened back on 9/11. But did you know there was an attack in New York that was so horrific that it actually had one of the largest artificial non-nuclear explosions in history? This explosion was called the Black Tom Explosion, and the Black Tom Explosion was an act of arson by field agents of the Office of Naval Intelligence of the German Empire to destroy United States-made munitions that were about to be shipped to the Allies during World War I.
Oh, that's crazy. I didn't know that. Wow, 1916. Huge explosion done by the Germans. It's crazy in America.
Now here's what's interesting. The explosions occurred on July 30th, 1916 in New York Harbor, and it actually ended the lives of 7 people and wounding hundreds more. And this explosion also caused significant damage to the Statue of Liberty. Wow. But what I don't understand is that the United States did not join World War I until April 6, 1917, almost a year after this explosion had taken place. Matter of fact, if you were to look this up even further, the primary motivations for U.S. entry were Germany's renewed unrestricted submarine warfare against all ships, including merchant vessels, and the interception of the Zimmermann telegram. The sinking of the British passenger ship the Lusitania in 1915, where 128 Americans had lost their lives, was also factored in when it came to Germany's unrestricted submarine warfare. But never once was the Black Tom explosion ever factored in. That's what I find to be odd. It also caused damage of military goods worth some $20 million, which would be $580 million in today's world. What is even more interesting is that the Statue of Liberty's torch was closed to the public after the explosion due to structural damage, which is a given, but access was not open even after the 1984-1986 restoration, which included repairs to the arm and installation of a new gold-plated copper torch.
No, wait, like there's people that remember like taking tours in like the Statue of Liberty, and now they're saying that never happened. So that right there is coming off as a Mandela effect for a lot of people who live in like northern New Jersey and like New York.
But if you were to go to the Statue of Liberty's website, statueofliberty.org, to see why the Statue of Liberty needed restoration in the first place, it goes on to say that the foundation, working with its public partner, the National Park Service, first tackled the restoration of the Statue of Liberty after almost a century, weather, pollution, and sightseeing had left Lady Liberty's torch in need of replacement and her crown's rays in need of strengthening. Listen to this part. It says, "We've restored Ellis Island, supported Lady Liberty through 9/11 and Hurricane Sandy, and created a series of meaningful testaments to the role of immigration in America, including the American Immigrant Wall of Honor, the American Family Immigration History Center, the Peopling of America Center, and Statue of Liberty Museum, which the foundation opened in 2019. But nowhere on this website, nowhere in this article mentions how the Statue of Liberty was involved in one of the worst non-nuke explosions in history. But you can actually read about the Black Tom 1916 bombing on the FBI website, fbi.gov. This article goes on to say, "It was still dark in Manhattan on a Sunday morning, July 30th, 1916, when the sky suddenly exploded with an unnatural brilliance." The article goes on to say that 2 million pounds of war materials packed into train cars had blown up in the Black Tom Railroad Yard on what is now a part of Liberty State Park. Thousands of windows shattered in Lower Manhattan and Jersey City. Shrapnel pockmarked the Statue of Liberty. 3 men and a baby had lost their lives by the explosive energy that erupted from this act of sabotage. The culprits, German agents, who were determined to prevent American munition shippers from supplying its English enemy during the First World War. But why does this feel like an event that was added into history as opposed to something that actually happened? In this next creepy Mandela effect.
So what is he trying to say? Like that never happened in his timeline? I mean, I don't exactly remember the Black Tom bombing from 1916, but I think I do remember being taught that the Statue of Liberty was attacked at one point. But yeah, wow.
Fact, almost everybody had an original Nintendo. If you did not own one, you knew somebody that did. One of the things that I specifically remember about the original Nintendo is that in order to play a game, you had to open up the lid, you had to push the game in, of course, and then you had to press the game down and press the power button on. That was the only way to get a game to start. Now, there were other iterations of the NES that were created where you did not have to do this, but apparently, come to find out, you never had to do this in any version of the NES system. This is perhaps...
Hold on. Are you telling me that... You're telling me that the NES, the original Nintendo Entertainment System, right? The one where you had to blow the cartridge, put it inside the lid, push it down, then hit the power button, right? You're telling me that they're saying that you never had to push the cartridge down? That's crazy. That was like the only way you could play the game. Now they're saying you can just play it just by putting the cartridge in. That was the way it was supposed to be played. That's news to me, and I had an NES. That's crazy.
One of the creepiest Mandela effects to me besides the CERN one, because I remember this like it was yesterday. Matter of fact, it has even come out that pushing a cartridge down into the system can actually cause unnecessary stress on the 72-pin connector and potentially damage it over time.
What?
You know you don't actually have to push down the NES cartridge in order for it to play, and let me show you why. And the reason is, the game already makes contact with the console just by sliding in the game. Pushing it down doesn't actually do anything, and in fact, it's even better to not push it down as it causes less stress on the pin connector.
Oh man, that's totally
What?
new.
I said what? Not only did you not have to push the game down, but it would damage the system if you did. What universe am I living in?
Yeah,
Even
this
the
is different,
original
yeah.
instruction manual tells you press down on the game pack until it
Right,
locks.
the instruction manual literally says it. It says put the game in and press it down. When were we able to play NES games just by pushing it in? Bro. All right, maybe that is a Mandela effect. I don't know.
Into place and close the chamber lid. So why now all of a sudden does doing so damage the system? If you do have the original system, not the iterations that came out afterwards, but the original that came out back in the 80s, please do let me know if you have to press the game down. And
Yeah, I had the one from back in the '80s. I mean, there's the gun for Duck Hunt. You know, they have Duck Hunt there with Mario Brothers, the first one, right there. Was that Super Mario 2? That was a good one. That was a story about Toad. Super Mario 3. Yeah, I definitely remember pressing the cartridge down whenever playing NES or Nintendo itself. Like, yeah, that's crazy.
Order for it to start, because everything that I'm reading says that you do not have to anymore. Now, almost everybody is familiar with the Forrest Gump Mandela.
Maybe it's like a newer model of the NES. You know, like they like the how should I say this? Like rebirth old consoles. So they'll make new versions of older consoles, and maybe that's a feature of one of the newer ones that was made. I don't remember any of the '80s versions being able to just play the cartridge straight in like that without pressing it down.
Effect, where he supposedly said life is like a box of chocolates, but in actuality he says life was like a box of chocolates. But did you know there's actually a second Mandela effect in this movie that people are currently talking about, and it has to do with this scene right here involving the Black Panthers. Jenny introduces her new boyfriend Wesley to Forrest. Wesley hits her. Forrest sees this, and they end up getting into a fight. Now, after the fight ends, Forrest Gump says something to the Black Panthers. Does he say, "Sorry, I ruined your Black Panther party," or does he say, "Sorry, I had a fight in the middle of your Black Panther party"? Now, if you are like me and pick "Sorry, I ruined your Black Panther party," you are completely wrong. He never says this.
Wait, I thought he did say that. Wait, hold on. Didn't he say that? I'm sorry I ruined your Black Panther party is what Tom Hanks said. Okay, let's keep going.
Sorry I had a fight in the middle of your Black Panther party.
Multiple people, many people who leave comments after watching this clip say that this can't be the original version because they specifically remember him saying, "I'm sorry I ruined your Black Panther party." And again, he never said that.
Wait until she finds out Richard Simmons never wore a headband. Stop. What do you think they did?
Wait, Richard Simmons. Wasn't that the guy who did like the fitness commercials or something like that? Like back in the day? He had like the real frizzy hair and everything. He did wear a headband, right? I think I remember him wearing a headband.
Went through the whole internet and scrubbed every photo of Richard Simmons ever wearing a headband? That's crazy.
Yeah, that's the guy right there. Yeah.
I don't even know what to say anymore. I don't know what to say. Okay, but what if we Google people who have dressed up like Richard Simmons for Halloween? What if we try to buy a Richard Simmons costume now?
Ah, no headband. Look at that.
Like, what? Why? Why are they rewriting our history? You know that scene in Back to the Future where Marty McFly's like hand is disappearing? He's looking at a picture because like history's changing at that moment. Is that what's happening? They're trying to make us look crazy, and it's gonna work. They're gonna put us all in mental institutions one day, like on reasons why. It's gonna be like, won't shut up about Ed McMahon and Richard Simmons.
That's funny.
It's scary. Like, it really is. We are going to be the last generation that does not believe on the internet, and we actually believe what we saw with our own eyes. We're it. When we're gone, it's done.
That video was by Kelly Mano on TikTok, and that's another Mandela effect that really creeps me out because, again, it's something I remember growing up back in the 80s. I was born in 1985. Growing up seeing Richard Simmons on TV working out and remembering him wearing a red headband. Matter of fact, I used to think that his red headband was his trademark. Yet, in almost every picture, every photo of Richard Simmons, you cannot find him wearing any headband whatsoever. But what is odd is the fact that you can find people that are dressing up like Richard Simmons and they all wear a headband. More specifically, a red one.
Wait, is that like fake hair also? Like, are they wearing fake? They ordered like the costume and the hair itself?
Okay, so I just saw this Mandela effect on TikTok and I can't. So apparently Richard Simmons didn't have a headband, but when you look at the outfits or the people dressing like him, they all have headbands. I don't know who this is. Okay, this is just someone that, look, where's the headband? Where is it? I wasn't even around in this era, but I remember specifically, look, this outfit comes with a headband, but he's not wearing one. I am shook. I am upset. Look, this kid is even wearing one. Now, Richard Simmons, nutty professor, I specifically remember him wearing one.
See, that's the part that really like confuses me about this whole Mandela effect and everything, is the fact that people are watching movies that they remember very clearly, like, you know, they watched like a long time ago, and like the movie scene has changed. You know, that's like the biggest like question mark for me, is like, how did the movie scene change? It's one thing to change like products that we can see in real life, but like to change a whole movie scene from the past, that's what they're thinking is timeline shifts. That's crazy.
Apparently not. This makes me so upset. Wrong timeline, guys. We're in a different reality yet again. Okay, so I just saw this Mandela.
This creepy Mandela effect comes from Carla Elliott 820 on TikTok, and I had to say it's kind of a crazy one because I remember just as she remembers.
And if you're an 80s or 90s baby, even 70s baby, 2000s baby, maybe, you're going to be blown away because this is not right at all. Like, what is going on? Let's get into it because this is crazy, crazy, crazy. Before I get into this, a follower told me about this. So I'm going to ask y'all a question. Where do you remember the Energizer Bunny's battery being located on his body? If you remember it being on his back, you're wrong. It's now in his leg.
Whoa. What? The Energizer Bunny has a battery in his leg? I specifically remember commercials with the Energizer Bunny literally having a big battery on his back. What is going on? That is crazy. Its leg? I never even heard of that.
I thought maybe they rebranded it or they're coming out with some kind of new marketing strategy. But no, because as you can see from 1994, it's in his leg. What?
Since 1994? Come on. If I go like and search like old VHS tapes, or probably go online and just search a commercial, you're telling me all the commercials are going to have the Energizer Bunny with the battery in its leg? Oh yeah. This is definitely something strange going on.
What is going on? But it gets better. It's always been in his leg, apparently. No, ma'am, no ma'am, no ham, no turkey, no brisket, no nothing. No, it hasn't. Babe, where do you remember his battery being?
On his back.
On his back. Okay, on his back. He said on his back too. No, this is not right. But wait, it gets better. They done went and put the Duracell on the bunny's back.
Hold on. Wait. So, I didn't even know Duracell battery had a mascot. And first off, he had a battery on his back? What? It looks like the cat from that one meme that came out last year where it was like doing the raggedy dance on top of the table, the kitchen table. Oh my goodness, that's hilarious.
Duracell has never been on a bunny's back, ever. Oh, what the hell is going on? Like, what is going on? This has never...
You ever heard of Scarlet Spider from Spider-Man? You know, when Stan Lee, created Spider-Man back in the day, he created a What If comics, right? And the What If comics were like spin-offs on like other timelines. Like, what if Peter Parker didn't like survive? Or like, what if Venom became Spider-Man? Like, there's a whole bunch of what if ideas. They're called What If comics. Stan Lee used to create those. And Scarlet Spider was like that. He was like the opposite version of what Peter Parker would have been if he would have made different choices in his life. So this kind of like reminds me of like we're dealing with doppelgangers and Scarlet Spider universes right now. This is crazy.
Ben, like, why is it on his back? He's the Duracell. Like, he's not supposed to have one there. But wait, there's more.
For years, you've seen some commercials where one battery company's toys outlast the other toys. So you may have assumed their battery outlasts even Energizer batteries. Fact is, Energizer was never invited to their playoffs. And today's Energizer won't be invited either. Why? Because no battery lasts longer than Energizer.
Wait. Hold on. So you're telling me that the commercial, that looked like an old commercial. You're telling me that old commercial, the battery's in his leg. I don't even remember that commercial. That's crazy.
That was a commercial from the 80s, and it's in his leg.
Well, then again, it was from the 80s. I was thinking more of like the late 90s, but still.
Y'all, I'm tripping so bad, and I know I'm not the only one that remembers it in his back. Please let me know what you remember below, because what the going on, y'all? When did it change? And what? Why? The Energizer battery, y'all. What? Do you know how many of those I went through as a kid on Christmas?
I can also specifically remember seeing commercials where it's on its back. And I do know of the Duracell, but when it came to the Energizer Bunny, the battery would be on its back and it would be moving around as it's banging on its drum. What is interesting is that there are also biblical Mandela effects as well. People are noticing that there are certain parts of the Bible that have been changing as well. For instance, this video comes from...
Oh, that, you know, I never even thought about that. Like, so now in the Bible history seems to be different. Oh, that's like life-changing. Okay.
Grace Unfiltered on TikTok.
If you're like me, you probably heard about the Mandela effect. But if you've never heard about it, it's basically you remember something in the past one way, and now it's completely different. Therefore, becoming the Mandela effect. But I've always been a little bit iffy, like, that's kind of a stretch or whatever, until now. When I tell you that you've never heard this and it's going to blow your mind, you better get ready. If you've ever went to church or read the Bible, you might have remembered a certain portion of scripture where it's talking about the paradise and that there would be a specific animal laying next to the lamb. If you're like me, that animal that would be laying next to the lamb, it's none other than a lion. I not only remember reading this, but I've taught about it. But guess what? That ain't what the scripture says. It's a wolf. A wolf.
Wait, I don't remember that story being about having a wolf involved in it. What is this, the Three Little Pigs? What?
Wolf shall dwell with the lamb. When did that ever happen? When? But anyway, what's the craziest one you ever found out about?
When it comes to biblical Mandela effects, the one that really gets me are the names of the four horsemen of the apocalypse. The name of the four horsemen of the apocalypse, to me anyway, has always been war, famine, death, and pestilence. But apparently, pestilence is no longer one of the four horsemen. It's actually now conquest. In the book of Revelation,
Okay, hold on. The four horsemen. So you're telling me that pestilence is not one of the four horsemen, but conquest is? You know, I don't ever remember one of the four horsemen being called conquest. Like any of like the translations or anything. Like, so I used to play a game called Darksiders, and all my gamers out there from Xbox remember that game. It was amazing. And Darksiders 2, Darksiders, and the game itself was based around the four horsemen. So you had to basically learn about the four horsemen in the game, and you played with some of the. The thing is that the Pestilence character definitely was named Pestilence. I remember that. And I don't ever remember him being called Conquest. And I don't think you played with all the four horsemen in Darksiders, but you definitely got to play with a few of them. But yeah, that's something, that's definitely a Mandela effect, because I remember his name being Pestilence, not Conquest.
James Bible describes the four horsemen as conquest, war, famine, and death. Each horse is associated with a different color horse and a specific symbol, representing different aspects of the apocalypse. And I always thought that pestilence rode the black horse, but apparently it's always been famine. So this is one biblical Mandela.
Yeah, that's another thing. I don't remember that either.
Effect that has always blew my mind. But in any case, thank you so much for watching. If you like this channel and you want to see more, please subscribe. If you're already subscribed, please like, as any engagement does help the channel grow. Once again, thank you so much for your support.
All right, guys. All right, so that was awesome. You know, like I said, I've been watching this YouTuber now for like the last 3 months. He has really good content. Like, you saw the topics that he's into. It's all the stuff I'm into anyway. I got some other YouTubers too that I'm thinking about putting out content for. Yeah, let me see what time it is. Hold on. Actually, we got time for like one more. Let me drop another one. I'll give you guys another one. Boss reactions. Let's do it.
We are going to be looking at some creepy videos, strange and odd news stories, and as always, let's go ahead and get right into today's video. So every so often, I like to make a poll asking you as the subscriber, what would you like to see me talk about for a Sunday video? And in my most recent poll, not to my surprise,
Conspiracy theories at 53%.
a majority of you
Like everybody's interested into that right now.
had chosen conspiracy theories. This doesn't shock me because we are now living in a time where things that were once considered to be quote-unquote conspiracy theories are coming to fruition, and the so-called powers that be, news and media, they are having a much harder time trying to sweep things under the rug. When they release their bots, their NPCs, their fact checkers, people are no longer buying what they're trying to sell. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and check out some videos that may leave us with some questions. This first creepy video comes from Conspiracies. Now, most of us, a majority of us, should be familiar with the whole gated pizza incident, but did you know over in Russia, they have a very questionable pizza place?
Did you know that there was a restaurant called Obama Pizza? And I mean like an actual restaurant. I feel like the word pizza already has a negative connotation around it, and then you stick Obama's name in front of it, doesn't make it any better. Then they literally have an Illuminati symbol right on the logo. On the inside, it looks like a pretty normal restaurant besides the checkerboard symbolism everywhere. And I mean everywhere. The question...
I wouldn't call it checkerboard symbolism like strange in Russia. I mean, like they have like chess players that are like world champions. Like they're big in the chess. So I mean, checkerboards don't surprise me. And everything else like Obama pizza and you know the eye and all that stuff. That's pretty much probably just a play on conspiracies. The pizza place is probably the name of it is a joke. Basically, is what I'm getting at.
I still have is why Obama and why pizza?
Like, I think he's reaching. Like, there's no real conspiracy behind his pizza place. They literally just made it to be funny.
Russians know something that we don't. I'm going to show y'all basically what the restaurant is, and y'all let me know what y'all think down below.
Scott Thuman was on assignment for us in Kaliningrad, Russia, when he came across a strange place to grab a slice.
Late at night in a foreign land and fending off hunger pangs, a pizza pie can seem like a godsend. And here in Kaliningrad, Russia, a spot rarely visited by any Westerners, we stumbled upon a story while scouring for food. This is Obama Pizza.
Why Obama Pizza in Kaliningrad?
This word sounds funny, let's say, and it was very popular in 2013 when they opened this cafe and they decided to use this word.
It may seem odd, the Russian storefronts with Cyrillic signs broken up by the name of an American president. And let's be honest, it is. After all, a picture of Vladimir Putin hangs proudly on the wall here.
You got a pizza shop in Russia. It's called Obama's Pizza with Vladimir Putin's picture on the wall.
And locals tell us there's a running joke these days in Russia. If anything is wrong, just blame Obama. Though nothing wrong with this food. So will the signs soon be replaced now that he has two?
So now that there's President Trump, will you change the name?
No plans.
Do you like Donald Trump?
As our president Putin told that he's a bright personality. We'll see, we have no idea about him.
This whole pizza place screams like they're trying to relay a message. Not only is it the fact that we always have Hollywood, these celebrities talking about pizza, and we know what that's code for, but we have the free people symbolism all over this place. We have the check.
It's probably like what? Like one pizza shop? Come on, bro.
Board. We have the all-seeing eye. We have the pyramid. This pizza place gives off a very eerie vibe. Now, I can see if it was over here in the U.S., one of the...
Millions may be a lot. I don't think it's millions of pizza shops in Russia. Definitely thousands, though.
Arguments could be made that they're just trying to capitalize off of certain conspiracy theories that are spoken about here in the United States. But given the fact that it's over in Russia, in some random place with not a big population, again, that's very creepy. I just feel like there's something deeper going on here than just them making and selling food.
So how big of a conspiracy theorist
I think you're reaching.
I'll go first. Donald Trump and Elon Musk wanted to see the gold in Fort Knox. And then the American people wanted to see the gold in Fort Knox. And then Elon Musk and Trump had a breakup. And then Elon quit his job with Doge. And then the Epstein files resurfaced. And then they sunk again. And then Obama has been accused of treason, the highest crime in the land, even worse than murder. But he hasn't been arrested yet. But meanwhile, if you go down to Walmart and you self-check out a 52-inch TV for the price of bread, they will arrest you with a private police force before you even leave the store. But through all of these twists and turns, you weren't asking to see or even thinking about the gold in Fort Knox. And that's how they get you. So how big of a conspiracy?
That great video comes from the real Matt the Welder, and let's be honest, there is no gold in Fort Knox. There hasn't been for quite some time, if there ever was. Reading this news article right here, it says, if a full audit revealed that some of the United States gold reserves were missing or unaccounted for, the consequences could be severe. Domestically, it would trigger a crisis of confidence in federal institutions and possibly spark political upheaval. The U.S.
Yeah, that would be crazy. Could you imagine Fort Knox not having any gold whatsoever? Like people just making promises on like banknotes.
Dollar, backed in part by trust in national reserves, could face downward pressure, especially in global markets already uneasy about debt and inflation. Internationally, rival nations might exploit the news to question America's economic credibility. But here's what they did, and here's how they're slick. While they have our attention focused on this whole Jeffrey stuff, which is indeed very real, the trafficking, the client list, and so forth, the distraction comes in the form of them investigating, them releasing names, them bringing people down, arresting people. They knew...
Basically taking time. I get it. So to stall for something else.
They never intended to do so, but they're using our anger and our focus when it comes to the lack of information to do certain things. And one of those things happens to be the Genius Act, which ties the dollar to digital currency. So when the dollar crashes and cash is no longer of value, well, now we have government-backed digital currencies, and we're now all going to be using the digital dollar where it's controlled by the government. There's no more privacy that cash would offer. They suddenly became extremely quiet when it came to the topic of Fort Knox, which really raises my suspicions. And I'm sure they were waiting for something like this to pass before they release any information about Fort Knox. So now if they do release that information and the dollar crashes, so what? We now have stable coins that hold their value no matter what. And the government, they now have complete control over everybody's digital wallet.
Okay, so I see what he's getting at. He's trying to say like they're trying to take us into Bitcoin or digital dollar so we don't have to worry about the previous form of currency. Like, oh, just forget about it. We're going over to this now, you know?
You didn't go ahead and get your jab because something's spreading? Well, we're going to go ahead and turn your wallet off until you do. You're spreading misinformation online? We're going to go ahead and turn your wallet off. Everybody's going to be on their best behavior, like Larry Ellison said. In this next creepy video that was taken all the way back in 2005, the question happens to be, what were they preparing for? Were they preparing for the C-19, or were they preparing for something else altogether that we have not seen yet?
I talked with Dale Bohannon, whom I've known since, I guess, the mid-1980s. And he told me something very interesting that he found back in the fall of 2000 while he was on a business trip. Listen to this, folks.
I was pulled to the side road, which was a new cut gravel dirt road in front of a business, a builder supply business, actually top-notch builder supply in Madison, Georgia. To my right, this was previously was a soybean field. And this little new cut road divided this field, and the right side of the road was filled with which I thought was portable toilets. So I never looked at them that close. Same in color, maybe black, but which was an odd color. And I was sitting there going over my notes, and a van pulled alongside of me that turned out to be the property owner. And he greeted me, and he was by himself, and so we had a good little dialogue there, and I asked him about the field of black boxes. What were they? Because they...
This guy talks super slow. He's like, well, these black boxes... We're in Texas, and on top of the hill was. Like, bro, just get to the point. Come on.
I'd never seen anything like that. And his statement was that if he told me, I would be one of few people in Madison, Georgia that knew about them. And he says they're disposable coffins, I believe he told me.
Disposable coffins? What is a disposable coffin?
And he says there's 100, at that time, he said there was 125,000 there. And they were stacked, he told me, 15 high.
Whoa.
I asked him who owned them, and he stated that the CDC owned them and that they were leasing the land.
Look, whenever you hear about the CDC purchasing 125,000 coffins, you know, I'm immediately thinking like DayZ, like zombie alert, zombie apocalypse. Like anytime I hear CDC and coffins put together, yeah.
Leasing his land for storage. And he said his brother worked with the CDC in Atlanta and had been asked by the CDC to do a 3-year extension to place temporary morgues all across the nation.
Temporary morgues all across the nation. So wait, you're telling me that 125,000 makeshift coffins, and then they also wanted to place morgues around the nation. So it seems like they were planning for something, but what, COVID-19? Why would they? I don't think it was C-19.
So in January of this year, 2005, we decided to drive to beautiful Madison, Georgia, and take a look for ourselves. It was on a Sunday and no one was around, with the exception of this one pickup truck that was coming out the narrow road that we were going in on next to this field. We flagged down the pickup truck, and it was providential that the driver of this pickup truck turned out to be the son of the man that owned this field. So naturally, we started asking him questions. And he told us that not long ago, there had been as many as 500,000 of these grave liners or disposable coffins. We asked him for permission if we could look around, and he said yes. So we did.
We're just getting an idea.
Oh, I was about to say, I thought they went and found one of the coffins and opened it, and there was a body laying inside of it. He's doing this for the video.
For the size of these boxes, what could these boxes be used for?
I was about to say, man, hiding in plain sight, right?
Well, they're called casket liners. And that's an interesting term, isn't it? It's a casket liner. When I first heard the term casket liner, I thought perhaps
casket liner,
a lining for a casket. But this is too big to be on the inside of a casket. So certainly this could be used as a casket. This is an inexpensive casket. And you can see the size here. There's lots of room. I think my friends here, we could all probably get inside, and it might be a little cozy, but we'd fit just fine. Which tells...
Yeah, my man is thinking about a bobsled right now. You know, that's why he's sitting up like that. You know, he's like, yeah, my friends and me can get in here. We can just, like, you know, go sliding down some hill or something like that.
I mean, that these liners can be used for more than just one. And one more time, what kind of liners are these?
Casket liners.
These are casket liners.
That's what the man said.
That's what the man told us. And we're told that there were about 500,000 out here.
Wait. The guy said 125,000 at first. Now you're telling me that they said it was 500,000 of those casket liners out there? What? That's 500,000. That's what was this getting ready for? That's a whole nother question. And this was in the U.S.
So researching this further online, I found this article right here where even Snopes had gotten involved. And this article continues to say from spectatornews.com, in 2008, at the beginning of the Obama administration, rumors began circulating about a strange scene found in a field just off the highway in Madison, Georgia. According to Snopes, the Federal Emergency Management Agency was preparing for a potential revolt by building internment camps called FEMA camps and stockpiling 500,000 plastic coffins. Continuing to read this further, it says Obama allegedly ordered $1 billion of cheap coffins, storing them in a nondescript field in Georgia. Aerial shots show stacks upon stacks of coffins amid the trees, and theorists believe this is part of a countrywide effort to combat a future American revolt.
Whoa, that's pretty crazy, right? They said Obama ordered that $1 billion of cheap coffins and placed them in Georgia. I guess we know what state is going to be catching all the heat. That's crazy. So the country possibly was planning for, or the government was planning for a revolt. So this was a possible this is nuts.
Snopes reported Obama has been operating behind the scenes to prepare action in case of an American revolt that will not only quash a revolution, but end the lives of many of its participants. They were also quoted as saying, during the course of the revolts, many will lose their lives both in battle and in camps, an inevitable circumstance Obama is already preparing for.
Wait. So were they planning for like a civil war back then?
This was the rumor, and of course, as always, Snopes goes ahead and debunks it. It says, although Snopes debunks this theory by explaining the plastic coffins have been stored on leased land by their manufacturers since the 1990s, Alt News says these coffins are connected with 800 concentration camps throughout the country. In this case, should martial law be implemented, illegal aliens or revolutionaries will be rounded up and held in these detention centers by FEMA. Alt News says this can be done with signatures from the president and the attorney general. Now, of course, something like this did not happen during the Obama administration, but maybe it was. Maybe we were heading there. They were going to release some kind of news or something that was going to upset a lot of people and start this mass protest. And given the fact that the video clip I played showing the coffins took place in the early...
Wait, so what was happening back when Obama was in office that could have possibly turned into a civil war? To have the government prepare with like all these casket liners, like hundreds and thousands of casket liners, makeshift coffins, like that can store multiple bodies, like
2000s, before Obama became president, then perhaps every administration has something like this as a backup plan in case a mass revolutionary protest does break out and they have to release these FEMA camps. Something both Bush administrations had access to, the Clinton administration, the Obama administration, the Biden, Trump, and so forth. Yes, Snopes says that these were on leased land by the manufacturers since the 1990s, and that may be true, but they never state what the purpose of these were for.
All right, guys. So thanks for joining me here for another Boss Reactions. I'm going to be bringing some more content, even more poppier than this one. We're going to definitely do that. So hit me up with a like, a subscribe, and as always, boss up.